Alrighty, well, we'll go ahead and get started. First introductions. I am Jordan Adams, the Artist Services Program Manager. I am joined by Eric Ashby, our Director of Programs. He'll be working tech today, so manning the chat. And so we'll just ask as a kind of courtesy and etiquette, if you can keep yourself muted. We do have time for questions at the end, but we'll run through and if you want to type them in the chat as well, you can type them in the chat and then we'll run through the chat at the end as well. But we'll run through this presentation. Again, if I haven't covered something that you were wondering about, I will answer those questions at the end. But thank you for joining us. So you see here we have the Creative Leap, a virtual workshop series for creative entrepreneurs. This is pilot program 2 of 6 new programs we designed for Indiana creatives. And we'll get started. So the agenda for today, we'll talk about the needs assessment response and connection of this program. We'll talk about the eligibility requirements. We'll talk about our criteria, session topics, and curriculum. We'll go over the application together, and then we'll answer questions, like I said. Alrighty, so the needs assessment. Some of you may or may not be familiar with our artist needs assessment that we conducted back in late 2023, early 2024. That was a round of listening sessions and a subsequent survey. We heard from Indiana creatives all over the state to hear more or less in different words what they felt like they needed for their creative career and practice. And so from that emerged several themes and needs. And the needs that this program meets in particular are networks and connection, marketing support and education, and financial support and education. If you're not familiar with the needs assessment, I'm happy to provide you with that report and give you the full spiel offline, but that is the needs that it meets from that assessment. So this is pilot program number 2 for 2025. Through the 6 programs that we designed from that a study and assessment, there were 6 programs that we announced. This is number 2 for 2025 in the business development suite. So we have a community building and a business development suite. This is connected to OnRamp in the sense that it's not replacing OnRamp. So a lot of people are asking that. It's not a replacement for OnRamp, but it is a natural next step for people who have participated in OnRamp, have found that useful and helpful, and are ready to take the creative leap in their business momentum and kind of apply the lessons learned and kind of in this next step of business endeavors. So we do not require people to have participated in OnRamp, but if you feel like you are an established business owner, small business, then you can also apply and experience this level of curriculum and education as well. So again, we're trying to eject new momentum into established creative entrepreneurs and kind of help set financial and personal goals, as well as marketing goals, and help everyone build successful careers in the state. So eligible applicants, this is small and tiny, but we list all of the artistic disciplines that are eligible for this. If you feel like you are missing your discipline here, you probably fall into interdisciplinary and or multidisciplinary. And if none of these work for you, contact me and we can see if your discipline does work, but we pretty much covered it here. We also ask that as an established business owner that you fall into one of these business entity types. For those first 2, sole proprietorship and general partnership, there is not any entity requirements as far as with the Secretary of State, but in the application, and we'll get to in a minute, you will need to be able to supply some financials, if you will. So if you're keeping track of that as a sole proprietor or a general partnership, then you still apply. But these are the other business types that we have. And then you have to be an Indiana resident and remain an Indiana resident for the duration of the program and be 18 years or older. So criteria. So based upon the application that we'll go over in just a bit, we have split the application into three sections: core business, emerging opportunities, and long-term goals. And so core business, again, you have to be a established, sustaining business. Um, but we want you to articulate that in several different ways. So we want to establish that you are an artist or a creative. So we'll ask you to provide an artist statement. We'll ask that you provide your mission for your business, or if you're familiar with a unique value proposition for your business, we'll ask for that there. And then define your products, services, and target customers. Again, with the business entity type, even if you are a sole proprietor or general partnership, you should be able to easily identify these things. And then again, providing profitable records. We are not asking that you meet a certain threshold of profitability, but we are asking that you are profitable. We're not trying to work a miracle here. So we don't want to see people in negative or red, but we want to make sure that you are profitable. Um, and then ask you for your familiarity with professional development. Again, if you have participated in OnRamp, that's amazing. That's great. We know you have some base there, but if it hasn't been OnRamp, tell us what professional development experience you do have, things that you have participated in, classes that you've sought out on your own, certifications that you've been interested in, things of that nature. And so that section of the application is weighted at 60%. Emerging opportunities. So we want you to articulate two goals, one financial, one marketing, and they have to be clear goals. What are clear goals? They are collaborative, limited, emotional, appreciable, and refinable. I'll go more in detail about that once we open up the application. But we want to make sure that they are attainable and are able to be executed in the duration of the program and or in the next 6 to 8 months as well. And so long-term goals, same thing, but this does not have to be related to financial or marketing goals. It can be related to your artistic discipline, personal goals, what have you. If they are additionally related to financial and marketing goals, that's amazing, but we won't have you, it's not required that you expound there. Okay. Eric, did you want to weigh in on the weight of the sections?
Sure. So those percentage weights just are similar. If you remember back in grade school or high school, when teachers would say things are weighted XYZ way, it's a similar way here where the scores are weighted based upon these percentages. So the core business being a majority of the score. So scoring well in that section gives you a bigger boost than scoring well in the following two sections. And so it's just a sort of helps you understand the priorities within the application and the priorities within the scoring that the reviewers will use when providing comments and selecting scores.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so session topics and curriculum. So again, people familiar with OnRamp, we have the lovely Dr. Elaine Grogan-Luttrell leading the facilitation of the sessions. And we have 4 sessions over 4 weeks. We did say 6 weeks because of the 2 check-ins at 1 month post workshops and 3 months post workshop. But the basis of the sessions are, what are your goals? So right here, we'll ask you to create a plan of accomplishment, and Elaine will facilitate that and help you with that. A reasonableness check, where the incorporation of the accomplishment plan is fused into your business forecast. And then a forecast check, where we identify any pitfalls in your plan, and then you launch the goals. So providing support and feedback as the plans progress and you move along with those plans. If you're familiar with Minerva Financial Arts, Elaine is a CPA by trade, has worked in Juilliard and with a number of artists and arts institutions where she teaches the business side of artistic practice. And she's a lovely individual. She provides a lecture format, an interactive lecture format, and you'll walk away with tangible resources Like it says here, there will be homework between each session. And Elaine is not punitive by nature by any means, but it will benefit you and her that your homework is complete for the full benefit of the course and curriculum. And then the honorarium. So by being accepted into the cohort and into the program, you will receive a $1,000 honorarium. This is not a grant by nature where there's an application and there's requirements, but we would expect you to spend the honorarium in any resources identified for your plan. But we trust artists and we want you to use the money to the fact of whatever your priorities are. But yeah. Think goes for the next one. Now still lost. Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing and open up the application. Alrighty. So I have logged in to our founded website, our online grant system. And so of course here you see my name and role as administrator, but once you log in, it will have your dashboard, any prior applications that you've had with us. If you need help creating a login, remembering your password, all of that, there is what is it? Like assistant email there, but you can also reach out to me directly. However, I am on a view as an applicant, and so once you log in, it will look just like this with section 1 open. However, you can break down these sections so that you can see how many sections you have, as well as click the question list if you work better offline, formulating your answers offline, and then coming back and filling them in. But we're gonna go through each question here. So here you have quick access links. So instead of having to open up a separate web page, your guidelines, your criteria, your rubric is all linked here. Again, it had a link to register for today's webinar, the one we're doing right now. However, I probably will update this with the link to this recording. So if you don't remember, aren't taking notes or whatever the case may be, it doesn't matter. It'll be linked here. We have some quick grant writing tips here, and then requirements and policies for Indiana Arts grantees. So I would suggest that you look at that first to make sure that you can fulfill those requirements before you fill out the full application. But again, all of that is here. Quick reminder that the deadline is June 13th by 4:30. We do a 4:30 deadline because we're usually out of the office by 5. So I don't want you to expect an answer after that. But 4:30 is the deadline there. Again, went over who can apply, program goal, schedule that we all just went through right now. Each of the workshops will be held from 4 to 6 p.m., held virtually. Information about the online system, and then if you have any questions, you can reach out to grantsadmin@iac.in.gov. So all of this is good information before you start typing and realize I can't fulfill those requirements or I'm not eligible. So cool. So section 2, business overview. That's 60% weight that we just talked about. So we asked you to fill out your business name, as well as your business entity type. Drop down to fill out what we just talked about, what you identify as. And then here's the schedule again, and let us know if you can attend all of those. If you cannot attend one, then it's a no. If you cannot attend two, then it's a no. So be honest if you can attend all that is scheduled or not. Okay, so that is quick. So core business, that artist statement, guidance, we ask you to explain your creative discipline and explain your why. So if you play the guitar, why do you play the guitar? What's unique about you playing the guitar? I want a fabulous artist statement, not just an explanation of your talent. So be full here. You have 1,000 characters, but you do not have to use all 1,000 characters. And so this is so on and so forth throughout the full application. Business mission statement. So what is your statement for your business or your unique value proposition? There's a link here that takes you to Minerva Financial Arts definition of unique value proposition. Business products and services. So you can answer with a narrative, or if it's easier for you to bullet point out your products and services, you can do that as well here. And then market breakdown. So who is your core audience or target customer? Again, if you want to break that down, bullet point of demographic, what have you, you can do that. But if you want to provide a narrative of who you serve and who your typical client or patron is, then you can do that as well here. Gross receipts for sales. So this is where we get into your profit. We asked you to create to add the full number here for your sales of 2024. And then we asked you to break it down here. So you can use your tax form if you're familiar with Schedule C or Form 1065 or Form 990 as a contractor or sole proprietor. You can pull out that form and fill out this information here. We asked you to be as accurate as possible. And then it will total for you down here once you start to fill out these numbers. So if you get here and this number does not equal what you put here, we got some miscalculations going on. So yeah, just fill that out as honestly as you can. Eric, do you want to add anything on this section?
I'll just note that most of these categories somewhat mirror the exact categories that you'll find in your taxes from 2024 if you filled out a Schedule C or a 1065 if you're an LLC or an LLP or a 990 if you're a nonprofit. And so they don't track exactly, but they track somewhat closely. And then the gross receipts or sales is a direct line in your tax forms that you could pull right into that box there. Yeah.
Thank you, Eric. Yeah, if you have any questions as you start to fill that out, do not hesitate to reach out. Okay, and then there is an expense note section. If you want to provide any context to any number, if I'm gonna just give a scenario, if you have 0 for rent or mortgage and you want to say, I don't pay rent or mortgage, I work off of my kitchen table. If whatever context you want to provide, do that. It will help paint the picture for us as IC staff and Elaine as she kind of prepares to help you with your goal setting. Okay. And then on-ramp alumni status, let us know if you participated in any year. You will not be docked if you have not. We just are trying to get familiar with who is applying. So this is not by any way docking you if you have not participated in on-ramp prior to this. And then creative business development, professional development. Again, what have you done up to this point? If it's on-ramp and on-ramp only, that's fine. If it's something else, if you attend meetings at your local chamber of commerce, if you are familiar with SCORE, if you are in contact with your local small business development center office and you meet with them regularly, put that here. Let us know what you're doing to kind of up your business professional development. Okay. And if you haven't, that's fine to explain to us that you haven't and why you haven't. Okay. And then you can break down this section here. And then section 4, emerging opportunities. Again, those clear goals for your financials and your marketing. So again, clear goals is an acronym for collaborative, limited, emotional, appreciable, and refinable. So collaborative meaning that it can be worked on in a group setting. This will be a cohort of 15 creative entrepreneurs. You're going to be sharing, you're going to be interacting, and so you want to be able to learn from one another. You want to not be scared of feedback or critique from peers. So are these goals collaborative, and or can we help you as IEC and Minerva Financial Arts? Can we help you with this goal? Limited, focus on a target set of goals. So to the point that I made earlier about we're not trying to work a miracle. We want this to be concise, clear, in the sense that this is something that can be attained through this program. And then emotional connection. So this is probably the most risque of the of the acronym, but emotional in the sense that you're connected to it. You have incentive or motivation to accomplish this goal. Appreciable, able to be broken down in manageable steps. So as you make your accomplishment plan, you have feasible steps to accomplish this. And then refinable, able to be adjusted over time. So if we write this goal out and we see that we need to pivot or kind of add more information to it, can it be done in that way? So you'll want to apply that acronym to both your financial goal and your marketing goal, and that it aligns with your statements that you provided, the financial statements that you gave us. Again, if utilities are ridiculous and you want to get those down to a manageable amount, but then you say something that is totally contradictory to that, we wanted to make sure that these goals align with the information you've provided us. Okay. Long-term goals, again, this is a SMART goal. So most people are familiar with SMART goals. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And again, this doesn't have to be connected to financials or marketing. It can be connected to anything that you want it to be as it pertains to your business or artistic practice, in the sense of just technical ability for your artistic practice and discipline. So again, are you able to achieve these in the next 1 to 3 years as well? So these are longer term, and it may take you more time and effort to accomplish these long-term goals outside of this program. Okay. And then we just asked you to sign it and say it's you that submitted this application. Again, 4:30 deadline on June 13th. Okay. Alrighty, so any questions? That was a lot, that was a mouthful. Any questions on any particular section of the application or anything that we went over overall?